Round 20 of the NRL is about to begin, so let's pick who we think are going to win. So last week, round 19 was only a 5-game week. It wasn't great, just so you know. But on Thursday 11th, it was Dolphins versus Rabbitohs, thinking that Rabbitohs form is going to keep them going. It died. It died last week because Dolphins won by 8. So I get absolutely nothing. It was a fairly even pick with you guys. 51% Dolphins, 49% for the Rabbitohs. So no points for me there. Very disappointing. Though Sharks did get back to winning ways as predicted, and they really won because they won by 52 points. That is absolutely insane. They blew West Tigers apart, which is what was expected. I just didn't realise by that much, but I get 1 point for the win. Then Titans versus Eels, and yes, I get bang on the money with an 8-point win. Get in there. So I get 1 point for the win and a nice amount, like 0.75 or something like that for the correct score. So that's good for that one. But then it did go downhill again because I did Broncos to beat the Dragons. Dragons won by 4. Ugh, annoying. Broncos, I just thought they might kick on, and yeah, their good form has died now, hasn't it? It really has died. Last game, though, of last week, I had Sea Eagles versus Knights. I thought the Knights could beat the Sea Eagles, who were on poor form, but actually, Sea Eagles now have put themselves in a decent contention for finals with a 38-point win over the Knights. What a fantastic win to really get them back in the game. Well, the table with you guys in and Coolbajul is still top of the table, but the Golden Hat in second place this week. Up 4 is Adelaide Bulldog. Fantastic. Little bit of movement. Down 2 is a Juby and Aussie Tash. Unlucky Aussie Tash with all that confidence you have been portraying. You are down 2. Hacksaw's up 2. There's a little bit of movement going on. WM Footy NRL is up 4. New Elijah down 2. Up 5 is Mad Swans fan. Well done, buddy. I am down 3. That's not bad considering I had a pretty poor week. Let's see who else. Stephen J. Will up 4. Down 4 is Up the Pars. Up 6, Scott Hill. The Wooden Spoon goes to Midori. And let's see what else. Any other movers? AFL Time 23 up 4. And that is how you guys finish the week. So on to round 20 then. It is flying by. Friday is at the GIO Stadium in Canberra. Raiders versus Warriors. Now, Raiders, as I said, they have plummeted. Week after week, it's getting worse and worse for them. They're up against a Warriors side who has had a rest week last week, so should be well rested and ready and expected to come into some good form. I don't think it should be too difficult. I'm surprised at the odds here. I think the odds being in the Raiders' favour is more the fact that they're at home, maybe. But I think I've got to go with a Warriors win here. So I'm going to go with a Warriors win by 10. Yeah, 10. 2 tries, 1 conversion. Next up on Saturday 20th, Rabbitohs versus West Tigers. I was surprised Rabbitohs lost their last game, which is amazing to think because at the start of the season, no one would have said that. But they are against West Tigers, and they have had decent form. You know, at the end of the day, last week, the West Tigers were embarrassed by Sharks. Sharks who weren't on the best form themselves. But that was an embarrassing victory, and I don't think the Tigers have enough ability to actually... I always say, you know, when you lose badly, you either come out fighting the following week or it just gets worse, and I think it will just get worse. I think Rabbitohs should come out on top here for sure. So let's go with a 16-point win. 16-point win for the Rabbitohs. It's just bizarre. Thinking they're still in 15th. They've had a nice little run of form there. Next up at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle is Knights versus Broncos. I just don't understand the Broncos. I don't understand what is going on with them at all at the moment, because they showed a little bit of sign weeks and weeks ago that, yes, they're going to try and push up and produce what they did last year, but they just collapsed. They absolutely collapsed. They're against a Knights side who lacks consistency for sure. Broncos have so much more quality in their team, and 13th or wherever they are, they wouldn't have expected that at all. But life is difficult during State of Origin. This is the thing. It's very similar to in rugby union during in the Premiership rugby during internationals, because league games don't stop during internationals, so the weaker sides normally push up slightly. But I think Broncos have got to show their quality now. So I'm actually going to go with the Broncos win. I'm going to Broncos win by 8. They have to start showing something. It may be too late now, but they got to start showing their quality. Next up, Amy Park, Storm versus Roosters. This should be a fascinating game between first and second place. And a difficult one to call. Amazingly, their Roosters are favourites to beat Storm. And so there is confidence in the betting to beat Storm. Both teams, really, really good form. But the Roosters, are they peaking at the right time now? That's the big thing. Now, granted, Storm, it's like saying, are Storm peaking? Storm just seem to be on that high level all the time. But I am going to go with a Roosters win. That's what I'm going to go with, the Roosters win. They're peaking now. They're fighting. So a Roosters win by 4. That could go horribly wrong. But we will see. Sunday 21st, Panthers versus Dolphins. Okay, so Panthers, they've had a week off. They are still one of the best teams in the league. No doubt about it. They've got a game in hand above Sharks and Roosters, which should, if they win, they beat Dolphins, who don't write Dolphins off. But that will put them up to second place potentially. Yeah. It could be bad for Dolphins, but you can't necessarily write them off. So, yes, me going for a victory for Panthers, which I will be doing. You never know. It just feels, I know Dolphins won last time, but it just feels like both teams are going in opposite directions now as the playoff stages are beginning to approach. And this is now Panthers. They're just hopefully going to cement their place. So a Panthers win by 16. Come on, Panthers. Come on. Next, Four Pines Park Sea Eagles versus Titans. Now, Titans, well done to them. 3 wins in a row. But they are now facing a Sea Eagles side who are finding their form. Just as I was saying about Panthers and Dolphins, it now seems like Sea Eagles, they are now pushing for pushing for the playoff finals. And they're facing a Titans side who, once again, you can't write off. I know they are near the bottom of the table now, but they do seem to get those results, don't they? They get the surprise results when you're not looking. It's just the fact that Titans are giving the top teams a real good go, which makes it slightly difficult to call. But I think there's enough momentum going into these playoff finals for the Eagles that I think the Eagles should be able to get a win, but a tight one. I can only give them a tight one. I'm going to give them a 4-point win over the Titans, but Titans could win that. They really could win that. Next and final game, though, is Cowboys versus Bulldogs at the Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Okay, both teams on really good form, aren't they? Cowboys and Bulldogs. They're on really, really good form. Both of them trying to now push off. And this is going to be the conversation. The playoffs is going to be the conversation now. We're getting so close to it. Yeah, it's interesting to see that the Cowboys are lower than the Bulldogs. I'm going to go with the Cowboys, though, I think. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cowboys, and I'm not necessarily sure why. Because form is almost identical. I'm just taking this one is a random guess. I'm not doing anything other than a random guess for this one. I'm going to do Cowboys. They're at home. Cowboys by 6. So my picks for this week: Warriors by 10, Rabbitohs by 16, Broncos by 8, Roosters by 4, Panthers by 16, Eagles by 4, and Cowboys by 6. Wow, this is heating up with only 5 rounds to go. It's still, honestly, it's been so close throughout the season. At the moment, what we're looking at, second place down to maybe even 13th, but probably down to 10th. It's all to play for indeed, and there's not long left until the finals. It's getting exciting. It really, really is. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you get your tips in, and I will catch you next week.